Right, hello everyone, this is a video lesson for adding and subtracting fractions for S4 and this is when we don't have the same denominator for our fractions. Quick starter here to get you started, so pause this video just now, complete the starter and come back for the answers. Right, so the answers then. The first question here is dealing with what we were looking at on Monday's lesson. We have got the same denominator in our fractions. Therefore, our resulting fraction has to have that denominator. We apply the calculation of the plus to the two numbers on the top, leaving us with 3 over 5 for 1a. Very similar calculations for b. We have got to add our two top numbers here, so 3 plus 6 gives me 9 over the common denominator of 7. I can change this to a mixed number. 7 goes into 9 one whole time with a remainder of 2, which we have to put over the 7. Now, question 2 is going to be important for us today. The first thing to notice is that there's only one part of the calculation we have to fill in, where I've put the little blue dots at. So this one here, 3, we have multiplied that by 4 to make the 12. So we've created what's known as equivalent fractions. Going the opposite of simplifying, we're not dividing top and bottom by the same number. In this case, we're multiplying by the same number. Times the bottom by 4, so we have to times the top by 4. So 8 over 12 is the same as 2 over 3. In part B, we have multiplied the top of the fraction by 3. So we have to multiply the bottom of the fraction by 3. And 7 over 10 equals 21 over 30. That process there is going to be really important today when we come to complete these questions. Okay, so let's get on to them. Right, we are starting or continuing with adding and subtracting fractions. It just so happens that, as we notice here, our denominators are no longer the same. So we cannot just go ahead and add these two numerators together and get the correct answer. We have to first create two equivalent fractions of 2/3 and 1/4, which have the same denominator. Now, there are multiple ways in which you can do this. Okay, the easiest way might just be to multiply the two bottom numbers together. That will always give you a common denominator. So ideally you're looking for a number that 3 and 4 can both divide into. But if you times those two denominators together, you will always find a number that they both divide into. So in this case, I would have both denominators as 12. And we have to think what we've done to get from 3 to 12. We'll have times that by 4. So we have to do the same to the top of our fraction, make that 8 over 12. And the second fraction, we have times the bottom number by 3. So we have to do the same with the top and make that 3 over 12. Now that we have the same denominator, we can add our two top numbers together to get 11 over 12. And that's our final answer. If we do not have these two 12s on the bottom, if we don't have the common denominator, we cannot add the fractions together. So let's do the same with the next one. Subtracting requires the same process. We have got to create our common denominator. And I will do this by multiplying the two bottom numbers together. 5 times 3 is 15. So that will be my common denominator. What have I done to the 5 to get to 15? Times it by 3. Times the top number by 3 as well. That becomes 9 over 15. I've times the bottom number on the second fraction by 5. Times the top number also by 5. So that becomes 5 over 15. Perform the calculation on your top numbers, keeping the denominator the same. 9 take away 5 is 4. Do not start to do these calculations until you have made the common denominator. Do not make this calculation, for instance, 2 over 2. You are not subtracting the denominator numbers. Now, of course, we can use these with mixed numbers as well. we just need to perform our calculation of changing the mixed numbers to a top-heavy fraction first, just like we did with the same denominator questions on Monday. So for C, I can start off, leave 7 over 9, that's a normal fraction anyway, and I'm going to change 1.5 to top-heavy. Now to do this, we looked at a video on this on Friday. If you missed Friday's lesson, you have to catch up on this, otherwise you'll have no clue what I'm doing with this next step. This fraction, 1.5, becomes 3 over 2. That is because we perform the calculation of big number times by the denominator plus on the top number all over our denominator. And 1 times 2 plus 1 is 3. Now we can start the process of adding these two together. And the first thing I need to do is times the denominators to get a common denominator. 9 times 2 is 18. You have times the first fraction by 2 to get the 18, so you have to do the same to the top. It's 14 over 18. And we've times the second fraction by 9 to get the 18. So we have to do the same on the top as well, times that by 9. That gives us 27 over 18. Our resulting fraction will have a denominator of 18, and we perform the calculation on the 14 plus 27. So that will give us 41 on top. The last thing I would like you to do with these fractions, if you end up with a top-heavy fraction, so your top number is larger than your bottom number, please try and change it into a mixed number. 18 here goes into 41 twice, making 36. So we have a remainder of 5. We put that over our 18 to get the final answer. Now this step here is not an essential step. Your final answer can still be 41 over 18. However, it will ask you in the worksheet to change them to mixed numbers, so please do that. Okay, on to the next one. Very similar. First thing to do here, it will have the same number of steps. So the first thing to do is to change these to top-heavy fractions. 2 times 4 plus the 3 gives me 11 over 4. And 1 times 5 plus the 1 gives me 6 over 5. I need to make a common denominator. That is done by multiplying the two bottom numbers together. So I'll get 20 for my two denominators. I have multiplied the first fraction by 5, so I have to do the same to the top number, giving me 55. I've multiplied the second fraction by 4, do the same to the top number, giving you 24. We then perform the calculations with our two top numbers, leaving our denominator as 20. 55 take away 24 is going to give us 31. And lastly, we can change this to a mixed number. 20 goes into 31 one whole time with a remainder of 11, so that has to go over our 20. Now, all of these processes are a culmination of everything we've done from Friday, from the starter and from Monday. So if you have missed any of these lessons, that will be why what we're doing today doesn't make any sense to you. Okay, if you're thinking, oh, why is it 31 over 20 and not something different? That is because you haven't been catching up with the other work. You've not been asking questions on it. You have to be doing this in order to progress with the course and with your learning during this time. Okay, that's all I need to say, but it needs to be heard. So, all the information you need for today's work is on the Teams page. Please make sure you open that file and attempt the questions as much as possible. We will continue this on Thursday as well, with some extra questions added in. Okay, good luck. Please ask if you have any questions. Thank you.